Hello, this is Jim Vankoski, president of the Sports Legends of Delaware County Museum, and I'm here with Rich Pagano, one of our board members, and we're continuing to talk about different athletes that we have in our museum, and this is a very special group. Because I'll tell you, Rich, when I think of football in Delaware County, it's king.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And you did a study a while back. There's approximately 68 players from Delaware County to play in the National Football League.
Yes.
And in 2001, when we were asked to come up with an exhibit for the Delaware County Historical Society, they wanted us to pick 50 top athletes from Delaware County. And we got together, Rich Pagano, Harry Chaikin, and myself. You know how many great athletes there are in Delaware County, and we decided that we would come up with a criteria. There was only going to be 50 people in our card set, and this is actually the card set that we used. And we couldn't put all football players in there. I mean, we have 68 football players. We wanted to leave room for gold medal winners in the Olympics.
Right, right.
So we decided, unilaterally, I guess, or between the three of us, that we would pick the players that played in 100 or more games. And that's what our program today is going to be about. Those players that played in 100 or more games in the National Football League. And we're going to use it by number of games played, from the lowest number, over 100, up until the two individuals that played in the most. So why don't you start us off with number 105 here.
Yeah, John Mobley, who played his high school football at Chichester High School, and then played collegiately at Kutztown University. Actually played in 105 games for the Denver Broncos. He was a linebacker, all-pro, played in 2 Super Bowls, won 2 Super Bowls. He has 2 Super Bowl rings. Just an outstanding player. He's also tied there with John Cappelletti from Bonner, Monsignor Bonner, who won, the only football player from Delaware County to win a Heisman Trophy. And he played at Penn State, was an All-American there, and played for the Los Angeles Rams and San Diego Chargers. He played 9 seasons, again, 105 games, tied with Mobley, John Mobley, at 105 games.
So you have John Mobley from Chichester with 105, and then you have John Cappelletti from Monsignor Bonner that also played in 105. And the thing that really makes John Cappelletti heroic, he wore number 22 in college, and I think he wore number 22 in the pros.
Yes. Yeah.
That happens a lot. The players want to continue to wear the same number that they wore in college, if they can.
And I guess they request that, and whether the team lets them do it or not.
It all depends on if they have an all-pro player ahead of them wearing
Well,
that
yeah.
same number, then they'll have a tougher time getting it. John Mobley, I have a story on John Mobley. He played in Denver. And Ron Henry, who was the only African-American baseball player to play in the major leagues from Delaware County, played a lot of AAA ball in Denver. And it turns out that John Mobley ended up marrying Ron Henry's daughter.
Oh, wow.
Which is really unusual because they're talking about from the same local area, Chichester, Chester,
right, exactly.
in Delaware County. So I think that's kind of a unusual type of situation. Now, John Cappelletti, number 22, is the only number retired, I think, at Penn State. I think that's 22 is the only...
I believe it is, yeah. I'm not totally sure of that, but I know that it's almost been 50 years now, and he's still the only football player from Delaware County to win a Heisman Trophy. And that's very unique.
That's one thing about these 9 players when we talk about them. They're just not run-of-the-mill players. I mean, these are outstanding collegiate and pro players.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
So Delaware County, we're not just saying that, okay, we played in the NFL, but we had outstanding careers in the NFL as well.
Yeah.
So you have John Mobley, John Cappelletti.
Yeah, next is Randy Grossman, who played in 118 games over 8 seasons. for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's a Haverford High School graduate and played his collegiate football at Temple University, actually with his old teammate from Haverford, Steve Joachim. But Randy, he's really unique. He has 4 Super Bowl rings because when the Pittsburgh Steelers were in their heyday in the 1970s, they won 4 Super Bowls with Terry Bradshaw as the quarterback. And Randy Grossman was the tight end on those teams. So he can fill up that hand with 4 Super Bowl rings. Outstanding player.
And I think he was one of the players that was on probably the greatest Delaware County all-Delco team ever,
yeah.
if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the 1969 all-Delco football team had 6 players who went on and played professional football.
It's unbelievable. 6 players in one all-Delco team.
Yeah.
So Randy Grossman went to Temple. John Mobley went to, where did we say that John?
Kutztown University, yeah.
And then naturally John Capoletti
Penn
went
State.
to Penn State. All right, so we have another Bonner player.
Yeah, another Bonner player at 120 games over a 10-season career, and that's Al Atkinson. He, not only after Bonner, he played at Villanova, was an All-American at Villanova, and played with the Jets. And what was interesting, that 3rd Super Bowl, that famous Super Bowl where Joe Namath said, we're going to win this game, and it really showed that the AFL, the better teams, were just as good as the teams in the NFL. But in that Super Bowl, Al Atkinson was the starting middle linebacker. And at one point in time, he was Joe Namath's roommate, too, when he played for the Jets. Just an outstanding player, defensive player.
And unlike the other 3 that we talked about, I think Al Atkinson still lives in Delaware County. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, I believe he still lives in Springfield.
Because I think John Mobley's living in Florida now.
Right.
I think John Capoletti's is in California.
West Coast, yeah.
And Randy Grossman, I don't know anything about Randy.
Randy Grossman lives out by Pittsburgh, where he played, because he had a restaurant there. I don't know if he still does, but yeah.
And then Al Atkinson actually he's one of the true all Delaware County athletes that we have in our museum.
Yeah.
Because he went to elementary school, he went to junior high, went to high school.
Went to Villanova, which is in Delaware County.
Went to Villanova, so it's reminiscent of some of the other athletes that we have that, were born and raised and went to school, and when they retired from their chosen profession, they stayed in Delaware County.
Yeah.
So we kind of like that. At our museum, we kind of like that because we're an all Delaware County museum. So when you talk about people like Al Atkinson, we appreciate that he's still in the area. Not that we don't appreciate the other players. Yeah. But a lot of the players, they decide that wherever they play, that's where they're going to end up, like John Capoletti. I'm sure that one of the reasons why he decided to stay in California because of
both of the pro teams he played for were in California.
Yep, and Randy Grossman, if he lives in the Pittsburgh area.
Yeah.
So and Bill Moss, you're going to have to clue me in on Bill Moss because I don't know too much about the offensive linemen. Just like everybody else, we're more inclined to be familiar with running backs and receivers and linebackers. But Bill Moss was
Bill Moss played in 130 games over 10 seasons. And he played his high school ball at Marple Newtown High School, and he was all Delco there, and then went to Pitt, University of Pittsburgh, where he was a first-team All-American, and was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs, and had an outstanding career with them, was an All-Pro a couple seasons. And what I always found interesting with Bill Moss, when he was at the University of Pittsburgh, he started dating Dan Marino's sister. And Dan Marino, of course, played at Pitt. And Bill Moss and she got married. And so he married Dan Marino's sister.
How about that?
So we have someone from our county that's tied in with a very Hall of Famer, one of the great quarterbacks of
who's that one? Who's that one family? You told me about this before. They were related to two Heisman Trophy winners, or
Well, that was the Capoletti.
The Capoletti.
Because John Capoletti's younger brother married one of Alan Amici's daughters, and Alan Amici had won a Heisman Trophy. John had won a Heisman Trophy.
So you have all these Heisman trophies in the family. So that's kind of unusual. And Alan Amici, I think, went to Wisconsin?
Yeah, he went to Wisconsin, yeah. Played for the Colts.
So Bill Moss from Marple
Newtown.
You don't have an idea when he graduated, do you, at all? Do we have that in our card set? For some of this information, we're going to have to look at our card set. We have tight end at Marple Newtown High in 1979.
Yeah,
So he had graduated from Marple in 1979, and then he accepted a scholarship to the University of Pittsburgh. Played in 36 consecutive games.
Yeah, so
at the University of Pittsburgh.
He would have gotten out of there in 1983, yeah.
So real, if you want a history of Delaware County sports, you get both of these card sets, and card set number 2, and it tells you so much about Delaware County sports personalities and the history of Delaware County sports.
We have the cream of the crop in there. And
yeah, we really do. Next we have Billy Johnson, Billy White Shoes Johnson,
who always wore those white spikes when he played in high school. But Billy, he's next at 143 games over 14 seasons, and he played at Chichester High School like John Mobley, and then played at PMC, which it didn't become Widener till after he graduated.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So it was I was under the impression that it was Widener when he went there.
No, it was PMC, and I always wished that the Eagles were on the lookout and right down the street playing at PMC, that he could have been a Philadelphia Eagle instead of getting drafted by the Houston Oilers. And he had, of course, a great career with Houston, and I still feel as though he had some of the greatest punt returns I've ever seen in the history of pro football. And then he was on the 75th anniversary team and the 100th anniversary team, which they just had as a specialist on the all-time team. Both of those, they came out with a team after 75 years. Billy was on that. And then they came out with a team after 100 years, and he was on that as a punt returner. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
He should be in the Hall of Fame.
And I think it's going to happen soon.
We talked about this before, but our good friend Harry Jones, who had 2 sons that played in the NFL,
yeah,
he made a statement that I often repeat. He said, when those in the know don't know, you got problems. Well, who's ever selecting the NFL Hall of Fame candidates, how do they miss Billy Johnson?
I don't know. And I think he's the only one on those all-time teams, 75th anniversary and 100th, that's not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So it's got to happen. And I'm hearing through the grapevine that it's going to happen soon.
Yeah, when you think about that, everybody on the 75th anniversary team is in the Hall of Fame, except for Billy Johnson. Billy, I know you'll be seeing this, and we sing your praises all the time, and there'll be some surprises coming up as far as Billy White Shoes Johnson is concerned. He set 9 NCAA records and scored a touchdown in 25 consecutive games. And his average career rushing average was 8.8 yards. Think about that.
Unbelievable.
Okay. Tremendous career. So it's Billy White Shoes Johnson.
The Eagles obviously weren't looking at that when they.
No. And the Eagles trained at Widener.
Yes.
So that was their training camp. Again, the time frame on that we're not 100% sure about. All right, well, then next we have Joe Klecko.
Yeah, we have Joe Klecko, who played in 155 games in over 12 seasons. And Joe's career is interesting. He played at St. James, but he really only played his senior year, and was an unbelievable player. But after he graduated from St. James, he did not go right to college. He was doing all kinds of things, driving a truck, and playing semi-pro football for the Aston Knights. And some people saw him and told Wayne Harden about him, who was the head football coach at Temple University. And Joe ended up going to Temple and was an All-American and drafted by the New York Jets. And the rest is history. I mean, he had an outstanding career. He was All-Pro at 3 different positions with the New York Jets, played for them for 13 years. He's really another person that should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
When you think about, he's the only player in the history of the NFL, and somebody can prove us wrong,
Right.
that made All-Pro in 3 different positions. I mean, that's another one. When those in the know don't know, you got a problem. Not
Right.
only that, but he was a movie star.
Yeah. I guess Burt Reynolds had seen him. It had something to do with his driving the truck, because that's what he did in one of Burt Reynolds' movies. And yeah, you're right. He did a little acting. But yeah, he should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He had I know at St. James, he didn't play till his senior year, and he could have been outstanding his other years at St. James too. But
Well, he's a big, strong guy, too.
Yeah.
We have, at our museum, donated to us by Ray Dittinger are some highlight films of, as a matter of fact, included in that DVD is John Capoletti, Al Atkinson, Billy White Shoes Johnson, Joe Klecko. And when you look at those highlight films, I mean, they are so entertaining.
yeah,
And Joe Klecko, he's knocking people over just one arm.
dominating.
Yeah. What was, I forget the name of the nickname they had for the New
Yeah,
York
the stock exchange.
the New York Stock Exchange,
Yeah.
which is a great nickname for a football team. And then you notice there he's wearing number 73. And another outstanding football player from Delaware County that didn't play in 100 or more games, but nevertheless, he had a good career, was Joe Valerio.
Oh, yeah.
And we had Joe Valerio as a special guest, as we so often do at our museum. And Joe Valerio, I noticed, was wearing number 73. I said, Joe, is there any relationship between you wearing 73 and Joe Klecko wearing 73? He said, yeah. He said, that's the reason
He wanted to.
they all want their college numbers.
Right.
But their college numbers, apparently Joe's college number was taken by who, I'm not sure. But then he went to 73. And the reason he went to 73 because he remembered that Joe Klecko. And we actually have a jersey at our museum for Joe Valerio. We call it the touchdown jersey. Do you remember anything about that? What that story about him?
Yeah, actually, when they did the tackle eligible when he played for the Kansas City Chiefs, Joe Montana threw him three touchdown passes. He has all 3 of those footballs at his house up on his mantle at the fireplace.
That's a great story. So he became tackle eligible.
Yeah.
And Joe Montana actually threw him 3 different times. And one was on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
And that jersey, the actual jersey with the little letter of authenticity from Joe Valerio is hanging next to it.
Right in our museum.
So that's a great story. So I'm interested about numbers because people are, they have to have that number. When I think of athletes, they just have to have that number. When Bryce Harper, right, came to the Phillies, right, whose number, I forget what the problem was, but he did not want to take somebody's number because it was just too important to Philadelphia Phillies sports. It was Roy Halladay.
Oh, okay.
That was his. So he did not want to take Roy Halladay's number, so he decided to take number 3. So it's interesting the hold that numbers have on some people.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I don't know if our next person on the list, Anthony Beck, has a special meaning with number 88, but that's the number of Anthony Beck that we have on our card set.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony Beck actually is our 3rd player from Monsignor Bonner, where he had an outstanding career there. Went to West Virginia, University of West Virginia, where he had another outstanding career. He played in 167 games. We have him tie here with our last individual that we'll be mentioning, Emmanuel Tinnell. But he played in 12 seasons with about 5 different teams, but mainly with the Jets, New York Jets, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think some of the newer players were able to play in more games because of all the playoffs. They didn't have as many playoff games back in the day when an Emmanuel Tinnell played. But Anthony Beck is right up there with the amount of games. He's tied at number 1 at 167 games playing for those teams.
Yeah, you talk about the amount of playoff games. I think that in 1960, when the Philadelphia Eagles won the championship, I mean, that game was played in December.
Right, it was played the day after Christmas, yeah.
So now we're 2 months later, I guess.
And really, all you had to do was win your division, the Eastern Conference, and you went and played in the championship game, yeah. So there weren't all these playoff games that you have now.
Yeah, and we're always looking for added information. Rich, as much as you don't know everything. And I certainly don't know everything. As a matter of fact, when we had our museum at the Granite Run Mall, we had at that time we had the players, eight players that played in 100 or more games.
Right.
And Mr. Schaefer, who was as a DJ store and shop business in the Delaware County area, he said, "Well, how come you don't have Anthony Beck?" And to tell you the truth, I didn't know that. I really didn't know that much about Anthony Beck. So he said, "Yeah, he's played in 100 more games." Well, not only did he play in 100 more games, he played in as many games as Emmanuel Tinnell. Those two have the record. I believe it's 167 games. So Mr. Schaefer gave us some information that helped us become of a more valid,
more accurate.
Accurate. We're looking for accuracy. So anybody out there that sees our show that says that we made a mistake, please contact us. I think, Kevin, you have our phone number and address and everything else on the screen, so you can get a hold of us and fill us in and
Anthony Beck visited our museum at the Granite Run Mall, too.
Oh yeah,
and
he's in the book.
He lent us a jersey that we had there for a few months.
He's in the book. Anthony, I think, also lives in Florida now.
He was doing some broadcasting, I know, for football games, and I don't know if he's still doing that.
All right, well, that takes us, we got the 8 out of the 9, and we saved, I hate to say saved the best for last, but you know what? It doesn't get any better than Emmanuel Tinnell. As a matter of fact, we have a replica statue of Emmanuel Tinnell done by Jennifer Fredakis, and the original 7-foot statue is at our museum. It's something to see.
Yeah,
it's very, very something to see. And this is a replica of that. And we're going to be having a whole special show on Emmanuel Tinnell in a couple of months. So we won't say a lot about what's going to be taking place with him. But we will say this, that we have a special gift that's going to be given to us, hopefully, by Maylee Anderson, who was a goddaughter of Emma's closest relative, Catherine Robinson. She died right before the 100th anniversary of the NFL when they had their halftime presentation.
Right.
And Billy White Shoes Johnson was also included with that. And I think Kevin is putting up, and Morgan's putting up a blazer. And that blazer was given to Maylee. And Maylee thought that it would be nice if the Sports Legends of Delaware County Museum could have that blazer on display. And it's not the only blazer that Delaware County received, because Billy White Shoes Johnson received the same blazer. And he, when we email him a picture of that, he'll be surprised. You can't tell from the picture that's on the screen, but inside it has the name of the players. It'll say Emmanuel Tinnell. So we're excited about that. So we're constantly getting new acquisitions all the time. And
that'll be a nice addition, though, to our museum.
It's a nice addition.
Without a doubt. But Emmanuel Tinnell, again, 167 games played over 14 seasons. And he did play on 2 championship teams. Now, this is pre-Super Bowl, but it was called the NFL Championship. He won one with the New York Giants, and he won another one with the Green Bay Packers. And I guess it was Gil Brandt that came out with those lists.
Yeah.
He's listed as the best defensive back, #1 in the history of pro football. Right here from Delaware County, Radnor High School. It doesn't get any better than that.
I remember they had that on the internet. I don't know, he picked the 50 top defensive backs. And he's paid there. Now we're at 49. Now we're at 40. Now we're at 35. Now we're at 30. Now I'm thinking, when's Emmanuel Tinnell going to show up? Well, now we're at 10. Now we're at 9. We get down to number 2. I go, I can't believe I didn't pick Emmanuel Tinnell. Next thing you know, he's ranked the top safety defensive back
of all time.
Of all time.
Yeah.
So we've had so many great athletes in Delaware County, but it's hard to pick somebody that would top Emmanuel Tinnell.
You know, and he was a great all-around athlete at Radnor High School, all-state in football and basketball. And then he was a World War II hero, saving 2 people during the war. He's just a complete individual that people need to know about him. It amazes me that in my travels, there's still people that don't pronounce his last name right. They don't know who he is. They've never heard of him.
He's a hidden hero.
He's a hidden hero.
Not only football, but he was a professional baseball player too.
Right, yeah.
Which is strange because we have 2 great professional baseball players in Delaware County. One's Mickey Vernon.
Yes.
We've had all shows about, and Emmanuel Tinnell, and neither one of them played high school baseball because their high school didn't have a baseball team. So that's these little tidbits of information, I think, Rich, are what we enjoy finding out about. And for the minute that we have left, is there anything special that you can think of as far as Emmanuel Tinnell is concerned related to Delaware County?
Well, the thing amazes me that a lot of people don't know, that when he was in college, he broke his neck. And there was a priest that gave him his last rites. They didn't think he was going to live. And not only did he live, he went on to become the best at his position that's ever played. And when he was in college, he played on the basketball team, and they went to the NIT championship. And he played in Madison Square Garden. He was a starter on the team.
Pretty good athlete.
Yeah, I would say.
A pretty darn good athlete, Emmanuel Tinnell, and we'll find out a little bit more about him. But it's time for us to sign off. And the half hour goes very quick, and I think this is one of our better shows. We're talking about King football, Delaware County. And give us a call, 610-909-4919, if you'd like to find out a little bit more about our museum and how you could help us out. So this is Rich Pagano and myself, Jim Vankoski, signing out, and we'll see you the next time.